Hi, everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with Audrey Helps Actors, and today we are episode number 50. Explosion. This is the Golden Jubilee episode, also known to Google as the Quinquagenarian. It's your word of the day. Quinquagenarian episode number 50. Woo! 50. Hi, guys. I'm so excited. We're at episode number 50. Isn't that crazy? It's so crazy to me. Today, we have such an incredible and exciting guest back. We have Ethan Crenshaw. OMG, how much do you all love Ethan? Listen, everybody loves Ethan. My favorite thing about Ethan being on the first time is he says he gets recognized like everywhere he goes. Every workshop, every class he takes. He's hooked up with a lot of boys because of this podcast, which I just like, I love that. It warms a really special place in my heart. When we had the meetup, I was like, guys, find somebody incredible to go home with. That is my dream for all of us, okay? I have somebody incredible at home. Hey, boo. He's so handsome. Okay, here's what I want you to do. If you're listening to this right now and you have not listened to Ethan's first episode, I need you to stop. Stop what you're doing. Stop it right now. If you're on the road, really, I want you to pull over. I'm going to give you some time. If you're doing the dishes, put the dishes down, dry your hands, whatever your situation is. If you're walking the dog, tell them to stay. Just stay while you go back and listen to episode number 30. That's 30. Episode number 30, Leveling Up episode with Ethan Crenshaw. You're going to get so much more out of this episode if you've listened to his first episode first. It's going to be in the show notes. You'll be able to just click it. Episode number 30, Ethan Crenshaw's first Leveling Up episode. Okay, so you're back. So those of you who have listened to Ethan's first episode, so he's had such a great journey. He fixed those pretty remarkably horrible headshots that everyone gets when they first get here and got some really good ones that are really doing solid work for him. He's auditioning, he's booking, he joined SAG-AFTRA. I'm so proud of him. And I was like, let's just do another Leveling Up episode. So he came on and we really get into casting and story, learning how to identify and understand what it is you bring to the table and then how to then bring that to the table, even when you think that the role doesn't match what you are. I had a teacher who once said that if you wait until you get the roles that are just made for you, you're kind of fucked. So I'm just coming out swinging with F-bombs, you guys. So I really feel strongly that the art of auditioning, the art of the craft of auditioning is this race wherein you find out how you marry what you bring to what the needs of the story are. So I think you're going to love it. I really love Ethan. I love this episode. Shout out to some New Year reviews, you guys. New Year, new reviews. Taylor Eves, Trapeze Love, and Carrie Barton. You guys, I just love your iTunes reviews. So thank you so much for that. All right, you guys. This episode is brought to you by Greg Saffel at singinglessonslosangeles.com. That's singinglessonslosangeles.com. You guys, everybody loves Greg. He changes lives. He really does. He changes lives, you guys. It's also brought to you by WeAudition. That's WeAudition.com. I'm attending a party that WeAudition is throwing next week. It's the LA Pilot Season Mixer and Pre-Artios Awards Party, Wednesday, the 29th, January 2020, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., 21 and over at Mixology at the Farmers Market at the Grove. So I will be there, barring any magical auditions, which I hope to have and leave you high and dry. But if I don't, I will be there. So come and say hi. WeAudition.com. Promo code Audrey25 for 25% off. All right, you guys. I hope you're on your way to an audition. Yay! I love this year already. Book it.
Audrey helps actors because they don't know anything.
Hi, everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with Audrey Helps Actors. And today we have back
Ethan Crenshaw.
So hi, honey.
Hi.
We have you back.
I know, right?
Are you excited?
I am.
So I had always planned on having you back, but I was waiting until what to have you back?
Until I joined the SAG-AFTRA union.
And he sure did, you guys.
I sure did, y'all.
High fives.
Right?
Yay. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about where you are now. And since we talked.
So I had, I think, only commercial representation when we first met.
And sad headshots.
And sad headshots.
Like almost no real, really. Right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah, I think I had like almost nothing.
So you were non-union. You had what I thought were outrageously some of the worst
In hindsight, it's
I've
like,
ever seen.
oh no.
Yes.
Like,
That's how I felt about you.
Yeah.
Ooh. And okay, so now.
And I think I came in with like a decent amount of talent and like experience, kind of like given what we just talked about.
And not only that, I would say very normal for anyone sort of getting out of school
Yeah.
in general. And even if they didn't go so far in the party zone as you did, most people are spending those first 2 to 10 years out of college kind of pissing in the wind anyway. But what I really loved and love about you and why I was like, come on and let's do this was because you have such a focused hunger and attack on your pursuit. And that's what I'm always attracted to is lots of people. Yes, no, you do. I mean, you know, you're hard on yourself, but I think most people have a lot of desire, but don't follow that up with like an obsessive problem solving attack. And, you know, you're human and we're human. And so, it, you know, that's okay. But just so everybody knows, like, I am always like, I'm not pushing myself hard enough.
Yeah.
And then Jesse's like, I need you to calm down and take
I know.
it back, right?
I was having an existential moment the other day because I have a writing partner.
Yeah.
Shout out to Carrie Alva. Love you. She and I was talking about how I was coming on, and I was like, "Oh my god, have I even done anything since then? Like, is there a point to this?
Yes,
like,
right.
And I was going over this information before I was coming, and I was like, oh, there actually has been a lot of growth,
Progress, yes.
Yeah. So I got a new agent,
Right.
who I'm signed with across the board.
Theatrically and commercially.
Yes,
Right.
and he's been really good.
Great.
He's definitely like a small boutique agency.
Great.
But I'm a small boutique actor
That's
right now.
right. Yeah, that's what you're qualified for.
Exactly.
Right.
Originally, he only signed me theatrically and then sent me out on a commercial audition accidentally, and I booked it.
Oh, fuck. I love
And that was how I became SAG eligible.
That's right.
And can I talk about the specifics of that?
Please, yeah.
So I booked a Ford commercial.
Right.
And the funny thing is my very first agent was like, you'll never book a car commercial because you're too tall.
And
was
I
like,
said
boom.
the opposite, didn't I? I was like, you'll be in like a car commercial thing as like a tall guy.
I was a nerdy
Right.
scientist in the 60s. So
Yes. Great.
And it was really cool. It was with Bryan Cranston, which is like
Awesome.
exciting. But of course, the first SAG commercial I booked, we had talked, and you were like, "Don't count your chickens before they hatch." And
Yes. I had like
hatch.
here's what I want to say about this is sweet little Ethan calls me and he's like by little I mean 6'5".
Yeah.
and he's like, I'm commercial, blah blah blah. And I was like, okay.
I was like, "Girl, I booked
Yeah.
SAG commercial.
And I was like,
I will see you at the end."
Yeah,
next year."
exactly. And I was like, yay. Also, I just want you to be really prepared for the fact that you might get cut. And you're like, well, I've done all the research on this director and like all of his commercials there and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I love you for being so similar to me, but I need you to know that that doesn't mean shit for anything.
Yep.
And even if the commercial airs, they could cut out your face, it could be the back of your head. There's all kinds of things that happen.
Yeah.
And I was really trying to prepare you emotionally
Truly.
for the plausibility. And that's because, and I want all of you to know that generally speaking, your first couple of co-stars and maybe your first couple of commercials don't air or you're not in them.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's very normal. And it's so heartbreaking to everyone.
Yeah.
I want to tamper all of your expectations in the beginning.
And that's why I mentioned Bryan Cranston, because I was like, oh, there's this big
he's
person.
in.
They're not going to not air this.
But I was like, you bet you're going to get cut out.
I go on iSpot TV, like check it every day after we film, and then I see, oh, it's been
You
posted.
watch it with
They air
anticipation,
it.
right?
Yeah, and I watch, and I'm like, oh, I'm in this part, and then
They framed you out.
Yep, you see my hand for.
This is what happens, you guys, and you don't even understand if you don't know film, you don't even understand that that's like a fucking possibility. That like literally, you're like, I'm in this shot, but they just cut the frame because they would always rather not pay another actor.
Yeah.
And if they don't need you, they don't need you. And once you start understanding the fucking game, then you start showing up to set to play that game.
Yeah.
So you learn as it goes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I filmed that and I become SAG eligible.
Great.
They, they Taft-Hartley'd me, and I found out that you still get a downgrade fee, which was better than nothing.
Great.
But it's still like a fraction of
what everyone
because
else
I tracked how many times it aired, and I would have made a decent amount of money.
Probably several thousands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that didn't happen, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was kind of left with like the opportunity to join SAG, but really no
Not
like
the finances
money
to-
from the project that made me eligible. So
Yeah,
that was
I
like a weird predicament.
Get it?
And then my theatrical agent
Was like, how about commercials?
Exactly. Well, and he accidentally sent me on another commercial audition, and I booked that one. I booked the
Yes.
first 2 commercial auditions he ever sent me on, and that one ended up. I made it through finally.
Sure, right.
But it was just like social media basically.
Sure,
So it was
Not many.
not a lot.
Yeah.
And I've shown you my statistics.
So you auditioned for 7 theatrical auditions within the year. And these are all quality, I would say, auditions with, projects that more or less people could view as legitimate.
Yeah.
I have a couple points of view about your casting that I think you still haven't woken up to.
Yes.
But that's okay. I have a plan for you for it. Now, and then your commercial bookings, you guys, these statistics are 17 auditions, 4 callbacks, and 3 bookings. So what that tells me is that when you're right for it, it's yours.
Totally.
And I think this is going to speak to a little bit of what I want to talk to you about your casting, which is it's remarkably specific.
Yeah.
I think that you don't know how unique and interesting you are and how to use it to your advantage. That right now you're sort of like your general talent and your general understanding of taking direction and being malleable is sort of accidentally mishmashing
Totally.
with the right opportunity that's getting you bookings, as opposed to what I would call the art and the craft of understanding how you use all of you to make a role work for you.
Totally.
And I think you don't quite know what you is so that you can make the role work for you.
I hear what you're saying, and I agree.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, great.
I'm aware of that.
You're aware of that.
And I'm
yeah.
aware of how specific I am. But I
don't think you know what
know how to go forward with that.
Part of why, for me, I had to just go into statistics and gather data for myself is because it takes a lot to have self-awareness, honestly. On-camera acting, it really is you, and having an understanding of what the story is asking and then what you bring that helps fulfill the story. Having the awareness of what you bring to the table, I discovered personally on my journey is like a really horrifying and sad discovery of personal confront.
Yeah.
Of like who you actually are.
Totally.
Right? And
I think I'm better at that in what I would call like lower pressure situations.
I think that's probably
films like, because I've been working on a lot of my own stuff. I think I'm better at that when there's no like expectation or pressure,
Right.
Or in like small scale theater productions where I just Ridley
like-
Scott isn't like looking
Right,
at
of
me.
course.
It's
Right.
yeah,
Right. But it's also when you're creating it, of course it's you.
Yeah.
Right. And it has all the dimension that you have. And then when it's theater, for me, it's a different you that's brought to the table because you get less intimacy on the face and you get more of your full picture. And for you at 6'5", that's a very specific picture that can be used in theater in a way that can also be used in on camera. But I don't think you understand how unique it is on camera.
Yeah.
Like, so you guys, so what I told him to do was to send me his self-tapes and send me all of his stuff. So I watched your self-tapes.
You
and
asked for 2 and I sent 4 because
No, I love 4. I always am like, send me more. So you sent 4 self-tapes and I watched all of them. And there's one where like you show your hand. Like your hand goes into frame.
Is it the really like bad quality one?
Yeah, it's the one from the workshop.
Yeah.
Thing, right? So
I recorded a
Yeah,
piece.
that's great. So you like have your hand comes into frame and you don't understand, like you guys, Ethan's hand, shout out to the boys, he's ginormous. It's
It is.
ginormous and to me changes the story already because I don't think you understand how much your body type comes into play because you're of mammoth proportion compared to most male actors. And when your hand comes into frame, it feels like a weapon to me. It's like, oh my God, the hand's coming in and here we are. And that's neither good nor bad. It's just understanding how to use that to your advantage. You know, I have a chipmunk munchkin face, and it's almost impossible for me on camera to come across as really bitchy because I have a resting, friendly face.
Yeah.
Right? And so in person, like if I'm working a self-tape with somebody, if I'm working with a coach on something, and in person I'll do something and they'll be like, I think that's pretty cold and pretty bitchy. And I'm like, I know that in person it feels that way, but we're going to watch it back and you're going to see. And so like we'll watch it back and it's like, just a smidgen harsh.
Yeah.
Because of my vocal tone and the way I express my face and stuff in general. And I can be like grounded.
Oh,
go ahead.
You have big warm cheeks.
Yeah, I have freckles.
I just hit the mic with my weapon hand.
You did. I have freckles. I have giant like cartoon eyes and all of that expresses itself in like a warm, friendly way. But the advantage to that is if you have a character that is maybe saying some harsh stuff that you want to be digestible, that you want it to come from a place of either like its own weapon of like, she doesn't seem like she's a total cunt, but she actually is, that's a good place for me. Or you want it to be where somebody's telling a hard truth that on somebody with like resting bitch face is going to be unlikable.
Right.
But on me, if I'm telling a hard truth to somebody and giving them a dose of reality, it's actually well received.
Right. And that's understanding the story of it.
That's understanding the story of it. Right. And so I can look at a script because I understand story. Thank you to my husband. And know that, okay, it's really actually important that this person be unlikable.
Right.
And so I have to know, how can I push what I bring so that they have an unlikable quality? And then know at the end of the day, if they're really looking for unlikable, they might choose someone with resting bitch face to like bring that out. And they might not choose me. But I have an awareness of, if you're going to look for somebody who's unlikable with then a friendly face, how is that going to help the story if you're going to cast me? Right? Now, the advantage of having footage, which we'll talk about, is that I am now at a place where if they're bringing me in for an unlikable character, I know they've watched my reel. Right? It would be a mistake for them not to. And
so they know what
I bring. And so I can have even more confidence in bringing what I bring. Because I know if you're looking for resting bitch face, you can't watch my reel and think that that's what I bring. Right?
Exactly.
So you're looking for me to be an option. So you are in this place now where you're union. You're kind of looking to get maybe your first co-star, your first couple of television credits.
I feel like I'm knocking on that door and it's going to open soon.
So he put on tape this Disney self-tape. And I want you to know that Disney self-tape went really far into like brothers and sisters, like a heavy, dramatic, emotional scene, and did not stay in Disney kids show half-hour land.
Well, and I'll give you a little context. There were 3 scenes that they gave me, and they just asked for one. They were like, choose your strongest or whatever.
Yes.
And I felt the most connected to that.
Great.
And so, and it was by contrast, like a much more sedated scene than the other 2.
It's still a Disney kid show.
Yeah.
And you were doing it like a 1-hour drama at 10 p.m. on a Thursday night.
Totally.
And everyone's going to feel really emotional about.
It was Grey's Anatomy. It
was farther, I think, than Grey's Anatomy. Like Brothers and Sisters had this thing of like, you know, the music, and then like you're all supposed to like cry, and like Grey's does that, but you know, Grey's can still be a little boppy, and Brothers and Sisters not boppy, right? So you don't understand the world of the play.
Fair.
And I think it's because you haven't put enough attention onto watching and sitting those. So like a lot of people, you have put your training and energy and effort into plays, scene study, all that, which I think is a fantastic training ground. It makes you really facile. And so I don't begrudge you any of that work that you're doing. I think that's great. I would just like to add to it some homework to make you really acutely aware of the world of the play as far as what's casting and your understanding of it. Okay. You could have one scene. So take this scene for this Disney. You could have that scene in a Disney kids show half-hour, and then you could have that scene in like 13 Reasons Why, and then you could have that scene on, you know, This Is Us, and then you could have that exact same scene maybe on Friends.
Yeah.
How you will execute it based on the world of the play is very different from tone to tone.
Totally.
And I don't think you have an awareness of that yet. You're still trying to do like really good, honest acting. And it's so funny because I was just talking to somebody, a teacher, about this yesterday, that when I started understanding like that I had a world of the play to serve, it was very horrifying to me because I didn't understand that we weren't just all doing the like most honest acting work.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because all you're taught is like honesty, like play it for keeps. Like, how would you do it if you were in this situation? So now I want to talk to you a little bit about audience. Okay. So who's the audience of a half-hour Disney kid show?
13-year-old girls.
Now, how old are the leads, the kids in this show?
She was
13?
11.
Okay, so I'm going to let you know, if the kid is 11, that the actual audience is really like 5 to 8.
Totally.
So it's like aspirational. So it's like these little kids who are thinking about like what they're going to do once they get to junior high. What are they going to do once they start making more adult choices like an 11-year-old does, right?
Yeah.
So a 5 to 8-year-old is going to watch this scene where you say some personal stuff in this scene. What do you think is the appropriate tone for a 5 to 8-year-old?
Gentle.
Gentle.
But not morose.
Not morose.
It was definitely a little morose.
It's pretty morose.
I can see that.
Pretty morose.
Yeah.
So if you're doing it for a 43-year-old to watch, because that's like your truth,
Right.
you are not giving integrity to what we're actually doing here, which is not acting, it's storytelling.
Right.
And story is king.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the hardest things to adjust to. And I didn't understand it for years because people would say like, you know, don't show me what a great actor you are, serve the story.
And I think that's really actually, I think maybe right now is the first time I've totally understood in more detail what, when you say story, what all that encompasses. Because there's understanding, which I would say maybe I understand this part of it.
Yes.
Understanding who this character is in the story in general.
Yes, and how that's personal
and how,
to you.
Exactly, and how they fit into the relationships with the other characters and whatnot. But then there's the other part of story, which I think is probably harder to unpack, which is the tone of this particular story, or this particular play. Or
I call it the world of play because we all understand world of play. Like, you're not going to do a Christopher Durang play the same way they're going to do a Tracy Letts play.
Right.
You know, they're going to be crafted with a different understanding, right?
And it's hard to mitigate my truth with the storytelling.
Right, because what you're doing as a younger actor, and I don't mean younger in terms of age, I mean younger in terms of just years in this business, right? So for those of you who are listening, who are, you know, many of you are second act actors, so you're coming to acting as a second act of your life or a third act of your life. So I speak this to you as well. It can be a difficult adjustment to understand that there's something happening here, and it's like called entertaining the audience of the show. And so how you're going to act something for a 5 to 8-year-old to binge watch, probably on Disney XD, while mom and dad are cooking dinner, that's a particular audience. And you grew up watching all those shows, right?
Lizzie McGuire was my girl.
Great. So how would those parents do this scene on Lizzie McGuire?
Yeah.
Very differently than how you did
Definitely.
it. That would be a different attempt of storytelling.
Right.
That's all.
That's an interesting thing to put on my checklist is who's watching this.
Yes.
And I think that definitely informs your preparation.
It informs my preparation for sure.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, great.
Fuck.
So, see?
Mind blown.
Yeah, see, you're
You're going to have to clean those brains off the wall.
You're welcome, everybody. But wait, Ethan. Wait. You tall, handsome, strange giant. I have to interrupt you.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you shit you didn't know about your union.
This shit you don't know about your union is brought to you by WeAudition.com. That's WeAudition.com. Promo code Audrey25. You guys, I've used WeAudition.com. I have booked jobs because of it. All I can say to you is that it's a great way for you to be able to make some money, read with some actors. Also, if you need somebody to help read things with you, just go on WeAudition and work it. Whatever your process is. But for me, I need to read it out loud. I need to get it really in my body, and I need to feel like it's free and loose and easy. That's WeAudition.com, promo code Audrey25. Okay, You guys, this shit you don't know about your union is so crazy. It's the stuff I just learned, which is about health insurance caps. OMG, I had no idea. So a friend of a friend reached out to me because they had made enough to qualify for their health insurance, and then they didn't qualify for their health insurance, and they were like, what the fuck is going on, Audrey? So I investigated, and I found the one great Lori. Hey, Lori, what's up, girl? And she informed me that there's this crazy thing where when you work on a show, when you work on a movie, there's actually caps to how much they contribute to your health. So these are not the numbers, but just so you like have an idea. Like say you made $200,000 on a movie. And then this is like over years, over several years, or maybe you're awesome and you got it all at once. Now you think like, that's great. You made 200 grand. But what actually happens is you shot that movie in 2010. Over the last 10 years, you've made your 200 grand off of it. And then this year, the movie sold internationally and played all over television. And so you still earned 20, 30 grand off of that movie. And so you think, yay, health insurance. And then what actually happens is you've capped out that particular job's health insurance contribution for you to qualify. And I think that's so important. It also happens for television, and it makes so much more sense too why you see all these actors that you feel like, oh my God, you were huge on these shows. Like, why are you doing this thing? And like they haven't worked in a while, but you're like, well, you're probably still making money. So why are you doing this random thing? And I have learned through this information that you basically have to keep working. Like you just have to always keep working because these high paying projects actually have a cap on them. And I am so glad that I found that out now because I would just die inside if I had some show or some film that really ran and I made, 30, 40 grand off of residuals in a year. And then I didn't qualify for health insurance. That would be really devastating to me. And I would feel like, oh, great. Like I'm okay still. I've got the health insurance. And then you don't. So just be aware of that. And let's all just use that as more information to just be so much nicer to each other and to all of the actors that we know, whether they're having an up year or a down couple of years. We all need to keep working. We all need to continue to qualify for our healthcare. And qualifying for your healthcare is a very important thing. And so many of us really rely on that insurance every year. So the more you know.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Okay, great. So now let's talk a little bit about your materials because you got new headshots since we talked. Mm-hmm. So how are those working for you? And what did you experience in preparing for those headshots?
We had worked on some of my casting, some of the different options that I can bring.
Possibilities.
And we were throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing what sticks, right?
But directed spaghetti,
yeah.
Say. Like what a lot of people do is like, I like this shirt. And you and I had talked about your casting, and there was one shot that you had from an old shoot, but you had like your hand in it, like on your chin, and I was like, I can't with that. But I loved the outfit, and I was like, this is your casting. We won't try to redo this. Right? And then we got some other, what I call hypotheses.
Yeah.
Right? When I was figuring out my casting, and so for those of you, just know like you're testing it out, especially when you're in the beginning, is that where you are now when you enter the business is different from where the roles that you dreamed of having have changed as far as what's available based on what's in trend, right?
Totally.
So like I dreamed of being Sandra Bullock and then Sammy, my girl. Then romantic comedies as a genre died.
Yeah.
So I couldn't pursue that anymore, and that was very shocking to me. But in my pursuit as an actress, I couldn't have predicted that period work would become a huge thing. And then when I came into the marketplace and was really able to start competing, I found I was competitive in that.
Right. You realized that was
a great place for me.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. But I had to sort of test it out and try it and then get results. So you had come up with a few casting hypotheses, we'll say, of general directions you thought maybe you could be in. So let's talk about those shots and the categories that they're in.
Yeah. So I think we got 5 So I had, like we said, there was the vestige from my previous shoot, which
Yes.
is the blue background. That's sort
And-
of my general shot.
And that one, I will say, did do well for you. That's the one that got you into a lot of these commercial auditions.
Yes.
And has been getting you some results.
And then there's also the serial killer one.
Okay, so tell them about their serial killer shot.
So we kind of went for like a Ted Bundy, like, 70s
Yeah.
flat, like thick glasses and
Yeah.
sweater and like totally unshaved,
Yeah,
like not
tremolesty.
not my typical day-to-day vibe.
Right,
but,
yes.
But
But really
definitely-
great
And I
shot.
got I've gotten so much positive reaction like on Instagram from people. I had a couple people reach out about different projects.
Cool.
But I will say I haven't gone out
For that role. yet.
theatrically with this at all yet.
Yeah. It may also be a thing where it might be a little above your resume.
Yeah.
So that's
It's a
part
little
of it, you guys.
It's definitely like targeting like prestige shows.
It's targeting prestige shows and I would say really interesting roles.
Yeah.
Like that's not a guy that just comes in and is like, here's your mail.
Totally.
Like
Yeah.
he's like, here's your mail and I'm
It's
gonna
probably not a
kidnap
co-star.
and rape you.
Like
Correct.
how often?
So that's
yeah.
part of it is
unless it's
like-
a comedy and there's just like
yeah.
in
Let's
like
bring
a
him
jail
in.
cell.
Something interesting. But yeah, so that's part of it is there's like your headshots and then
Yeah.
there's your casting and then there's your casting for your resume
Yeah.
in your market right now.
Totally.
Okay, now if you had lots of guest stars and you were in like a place where you could sort of, I'd say, receive those opportunities, that might be a very powerful
Totally.
shot that would get a lot of results as far as auditions are concerned.
Yes.
Okay, so then we have
Then we have sort of like country bumpkin.
great. And how's that done for you?
Not as well.
Yeah, I would say that to me was like the one that I felt like the least like, yeah, that's it. Because there's
Yeah.
not a ton around for it, but it might be this sort of thing like on a kid show
Yeah.
or something like that you could
It seemed
really.
like a good idea, but
Yeah. But we're testing.
Exactly.
Okay, what else do we have?
Then we have Fabulous Gay Assistant.
Oh, love Fabulous.
Yeah.
Assistant. Okay, so how's that one working?
That one I would say is like middle of the road. It's
Great.
gotten a few, but then we also have to talk about the fact that like if they want like a stereotype of a gay male,
Yes.
I'm not necessarily that
And in what way do you think that's true?
because I'm not like I'm sassy, but I'm not like
Mm-hmm.
the quippy like on Grace and Frankie. I'm not June Diane Raphael's
Yes, right.
character's
Yeah.
assistant.
Right.
That actor's not even gay.
Yeah, right.
But he plays
That.
and that's not if you see me or see my material, that's not necessarily what I'm giving you.
I love that you have that self-awareness, and I also want to add a little something to that self-awareness, which is your vocal tone. And I think
Yeah.
you don't know fuck all for about your vocal tone because it's so interesting, and I just think you don't understand it.
Yeah.
Because it's so normal to you.
Totally.
And it's the first thing that grabs me. Every time you speak in anything, I'm just like, oh my God, this vocal tone. And it's interesting because, I didn't really pay attention to it, but it's actually the thing that Jesse notices most.
Really?
Like if somebody has a particular physical type and their vocal tone adds to that in an interesting way, he really feels like I just can't take that casting in that way because of the vocal tone. Because I think you have just like this, it's very interesting. And if you're going to be like,
Yeah.
like little gay assistant,
Yeah.
I feel like he's like this and he has this like, it's like
Exactly.
a slightly higher vocal tone.
My
and
resonance
he's-
is not
like
it's
so
pretty low.
It's so low. And it's not just a low resonance, but I would say probably because of all your vocal training in general, has a lot of resonance.
Yeah.
It's not like you're like
It has a robust timbre.
It does. It has a robust timbre. Okay. So that's interesting.
And then we've got this, which I think we identified as the wild card.
Correct.
Which was sort of like a transvestite thing, like a la Rocky Horror Picture Show.
That was our
It's
inspiration.
very like what RuPaul in the 80s would call gender fuck.
Great, yes.
It's a little feminine, but also very masculine because I have facial hair. And there's like a spider web tank toppy thing and a bow tie.
Yes. And
there's
how's that done
fierceness
for you?
all over.
Yes.
Oddly, my previous commercial agent sent me out with this a lot. But it was always for things that I was like, this. For some reason, the casting director called me, and these were all commercials, right?
Yeah, right.
But like, they would always be like, for like, I'll use this blanket term, like gay things. But I got called in for like a drag queen once, and I'm like, this is not. It was weird because like the understanding of that world, I think, is still a little
Yes.
messy for people who are not a part of the community, the LGBTQIA plus community. And so I felt a little like misrepresented, and I walked in feeling very uncomfortable because I was like, I don't want to purport that I am a drag queen because that's not
what you're doing.
Yeah, and I don't want to confuse people's understanding of who that is. And I don't want to I don't want to be an imposter.
Sure.
And I also am not trans. I identify as a male, and I think I got sometimes called in for things that were gender non-binary. And again, I'm not that. And I don't want to take away those opportunities from people that are. And I just felt I still think this headshot has a lot of potential, but I think its reception on the casting side is misunderstood.
I think it's interesting. It reminds me of, people who are maybe ethnically ambiguous.
Yes.
That then get brought in for Hispanic, even though they're not Hispanic, and feel a sense of like,
imposter syndrome.
Yeah, imposter syndrome, and like, I shouldn't be here, and I'm kind of wasting your time because you are going to and should find somebody who is actually Hispanic and represents that. And so it's an interesting thing where the agents feel like, well, you're getting the audition, and they're excited and feel like, well, your job is to get auditions, and this shot gets auditions, so you got auditions. But then what happens is your statistics actually suffer because you're getting the auditions, but you're not actually being able to bring something. What's interesting to me too is what I hoped it would communicate in a way that I thought was also good for you is a little bit more of this like sci-fi fantasy fiction thing, because I think because of your body type. Plus your voice, but then your very friendly face, but then also sometimes your really creepy face, is this otherworldliness. And I can definitely see you as vampire, as magician, wizard, as, anything that sort of, they put a little effects on you, and like your hand, instead of just being massive, also like the fingers grow and outreach and like grab somebody's face, like that to me is something that's a little interesting. So it may be that the aspirations that we had for that casting as well is maybe just a touch above your resume. Now, as far as smaller role opportunities are concerned, I do feel that some things I thought would be good for it would be, I thought like Underground Club.
Totally.
Guy, like the guy at the door at Underground Club or something like that.
So yeah, I like that, and I like the potential that it has.
Great. Okay.
And then last but not least, we have Sad Employee, which has been probably my bread and butter for this last year, and by that I mean like the 2 commercials that I booked. But.
Sure. But you book them. Because I think you have this face that can go a little pathetic.
Yeah, totally.
And you have also a really expressive face, and so for commercials, they want in 30 seconds. It's always like good comedic timing, great comedic actors, great facial expressions is always like what they put on the thing, and I think that's good for commercials and also for co-stars because co-stars are basically just, it's what they have in common with commercials is what's called the quick read. So they need to like get a story really quick about who you are and then go.
That's my Tony Hale, Jim Parsons look.
Love. Right. Now you had really gone above and beyond to prep for these headshots in styling and then showed up, and it was a real collaboration as far as making sure that things came across what they wanted to. So for this particular one, Dana,
Patrick, and I met on an existential.
You did? Okay.
It was beautiful.
So you met with Dana and shot with her, and when and Ashanta, hey girl. So when you shot with Dana, one of the things that was really interesting was the Sad Employee. The shirt was actually long sleeve, and Dana and her really great eye was like, when I think Sad Employee, I really think like short sleeve shirt, and that's kind of what makes it like.
Well, and it was kind of like mid length, but you couldn't see it in the frame. So Dana suggested that we safety pin it up.
Yes.
And so that you could see the short sleeve in the frame, which is really specific, but totally makes a difference.
I think really is one of those details that makes this story of the shot really come full circle for you. And another thing that I had said to you about your shots as well is making sure that in a lot of them that you had your shoulders in the shot because you are 6'5", and I didn't want people thinking that when they brought in the gay assistant that they were going to get a little gay assistant because I think there is something interesting about being the Brad Goreski version, but who's 6'5", has a really low voice, which is like part of what I want to talk to you about, what you bring to the table. Is 6'5", has a really low voice, and is, you're going to have just simply more status. You're going to be a little bit like, you could almost be like the assistant who could also be the weird bodyguard. I think you're an interesting choice, and one that they maybe didn't consider.
Totally.
And so long as you know how to bring that in a way that does what you do to it, because I want you to start to understand the choice that you would bring as that character and being comfortable and confident in how you bring that.
I definitely would say I'm more confident than last time we met.
Yes.
But I'm still working on
You are. It just takes time
bringing that 100%.
Yeah, I think it's just having an understanding of how you use what you have to your advantage. That's all. So I love this. So then I think what we have to then now look at, which I encourage actors to do, is to then take a look at what you're booking and what those professions are. So you booked scientist in a period way.
Definitely.
Well, I think then you have to go get a scientist shot. It's almost not so different than the SAD employee.
Yeah.
And that's what got you in for that audition, correct?
Exactly.
But I think if you booked it and they liked it, do you have a picture of you in that costume?
I do.
I would love to see it. And then what was the profession that you played in the other commercial that you booked?
Not specific profession-wise, but the character was... So my roommate is eating a juicy-ass pizza on my couch.
Right.
And I am standing behind him, neurotically holding a spray bottle, ready to clean the shit out of that couch.
I see. So it's
James
like Parsons-y.
Exactly.
Okay, great. Okay, so you guys, so for this thing that he did with Bryan Cranston, I can say that he is in an outfit that's actually extremely similar to the headshot.
Yeah.
It's just instead of it being a brown and yellow outfit, it's in a black and white.
Instead of working at Circuit City, I work
Right.
for NASA.
That's exactly right. A short sleeve t-shirt and a skinny tie. And you look just kind of like goofy and nerdy.
Yeah,
And I
it's
think
grad
that's
school
great.
versus community college.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, good. Okay, now you had booked a third commercial, and what was your character in that third commercial?
It was period. It was like a
Great.
soldier, Confederate soldiery.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It was Confederate. So this is very good information. So out of the 3 professional jobs that you had, 2 of them were period, and 2 of them were kind of nerdy.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's really important information.
And the Confederate soldiery one was definitely like skewed nerdy.
Great. So what that tells me is that you need to continue to build upon both of those genres.
Totally.
As far as your materials are concerned, because that's something that right now people see you as and are casting you in. And what I like about those particular opportunities is commercials are still the sort of thing where they can pick anyone. There's enough people auditioning for them. So if they're picking you, it's because you really are really right for the job. Okay. Now, your other credit, which is like Unusual Suspects
Yeah.
thing. So what was your job, like profession in that? Do you remember?
I played a witness, buttoned up. I was wearing a short sleeve polo.
Great. Short sleeve polo.
Yeah. It was basically like sort of like generic white guy.
Great. Okay, good. I just think it's important to, when you're booking, you guys take the data and then expand upon it. Okay. And again, what I will say about all these roles is you're not talking.
Yeah.
That to me is very important. So if you aren't opening your mouth for people to hear you, that says,
That's actually really a good point.
do you see what I'm trying to get you to understand about yourself? So when you don't open your mouth, people see you as nerdy and a little everyman and period.
Yes.
But that's because they're not hearing your voice.
Right.
So to me, there is a very interesting jarring that happens once you start talking. In the way that you look one way. Well, boo, this is what we are fucking here for.
Oh my God, this is crazy.
Just brains all over the wall, you guys.
Seriously.
In the way that you look one way and then you open your mouth and you sound another way. And that, in my experience, can be a real advantage, but it's only advantage when you know how to weaponize those things, okay, to your advantage. If it's a little clumsy and that you don't know what to do with it, then you're not going to use it to help you in your craft of storytelling for you putting yourself in the position of getting a role.
It's like when an X-Men, when a mutant comes in to Charles Xavier.
Dr. Charles
helps
Xavier.
them harness their power to use to their benefit.
I mean, I'm just Dr. Charles Xavier for actors. You guys.
Basically.
What's up? Okay, so because I have some things that I want to discuss with you, particularly about that for your self-tapes that you gave me, okay? So he had this audition for a feature film, So you are an off-duty police officer. You pull over this woman who's clearly been drinking.
Yeah.
And then you take her back to her place. You basically police escort her to make sure that she is safe. And then you aggressively start asking for her phone number and all those sorts of things, right?
There's been like some predatory crumbs left along the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in general, it gets darker and darker progressively. Now, I think this is a fantastic role for you, but I don't think you knew what you were using to make it a really great role for you. Okay.
Yeah.
So I, Audrey, get cast as killers, but it's because I have the friendliest face on planet fucking Earth that you don't see me as being somebody that will kill somebody. However, I have a really empathetic quality to my personality. And so I'm not getting cast as people that like, they're a bad guy and you want to see them pay for it. It's like, oops, she killed somebody and like, isn't that just too bad that she did that, right? For you and your vocal quality, and what I want you to be aware of is an already really creepy thing that you do on camera just by existing.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that negatively. I mean that as a real harnessing of your X-Men powers.
I think I have I can have like a really intense energy.
You have already a very intense energy. And you have a really deep, dark voice that comes across super fucking creepy. There's also this thing where you look a lot like Matthew Lillard, and so that's not fair to
I get
you,
that all the time.
But because you do, we have a point of view about your face because somebody that looks like you is already famous and we have an idea of what that is. Now let's use Matthew as a really great example, okay?
Yeah.
So he was cast in Scream, right?
Amazing.
Now tell me about his journey as an actor in Scream. Like, what is that character's arc?
It's been a minute since I've seen it, but you don't expect him
Correct.
at all. And spoilers ahead, but like he ends up being the bad guy,
the worst guy,
like a true like sociopath. Yeah.
Okay.
And but the I think the reason he was cast is because he is unassuming at first. He seems a little like endearing and maybe a little goofball, like
maybe a little nerdy.
Yeah.
You could
absolutely.
say. Maybe a little Poindextery.
Yeah.
Nerdy, like somebody else that we know.
Exactly.
Right? Great. So first of all, you guys.
I cannot wait until I meet Matthew Lillard and be like,
I met him.
How are we not brothers?
Jesse and I met him, and it was like the best time. And I've never seen Jesse, legit, I've never seen Jesse geek out about a famous person. And we like got in the car, and Jesse was like, I can't believe Matthew Lillard hugged me so many times.
He's like one of those specific celebrities that's like not quite incredibly famous, but has been in enough things that you've seen.
And I think if you're a horror buff, like you've got, right? And so
like,
I didn't realize
Wicker
that Jesse,
Park?
right? Yeah.
Whew.
I didn't realize Jesse was like geeking out in his skin like the whole time. And then we got out, and I've never seen Jesse be like, I have to text these people and let them know that I just like hung out with Matthew Lillard.
Yes.
So anyway, the nicest guy. Hey, Matthew. So you have this role as a cop. Now, first of all, I want to give Ethan a shit ton of shit about what the fuck he was wearing for this self-tape. Okay, Matt. Okay.
Yeah.
Ready? Ethan was wearing this super leather boy, gay George Michael 1987 leather jacket.
It was a John Barbados leather jacket made out of recycled tires. So
I mean, you guys.
Maybe was not.
Now,
a good choice.
does that sound to you like an off-duty, unassuming cop?
In my own way, I thought maybe it was a good idea. I thought leather jacket.
And why did you think leather jacket?
Cop. It
Great.
seemed.
So what? So story. Let's talk about story.
Yeah.
Is this cop on duty or is this cop off duty?
He's off duty.
Okay, so they could have made this cop on duty.
Right.
But the writer chose not to. And there's a story reason why the writer chose not to have them be on duty.
Fair. Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Now, I hadn't read the script, so I don't know the reason for that. But there's an important thing because they could have made that cop an on-duty cop who then gives her a police escort home.
Right.
And then gets creepy as an on-duty cop. But they made the character an off-duty cop. Now, do you think that the leather jacket said on-duty cop, off-duty cop, or gay leather boy wearing a jean shirt underneath who lives in West Hollywood?
C,
the third, right? Okay, great. So if you're going to play an off-duty cop who then turns bad, what do you need the first scene to be versus the last scene?
You don't want to know he's a cop.
Don't want to know he's a cop. Don't want to know he's also what else?
Creepy.
Yeah, a super threat is what I would
Yeah.
say. Like you don't want
I
to
see.
you don't want to think this person's a threat.
Right.
Right? And then some information is revealed that this off-duty cop pulls over this woman because she's been driving drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And then some information is revealed that in fact this off-duty cop lost his child to a drunk driver,
Yeah.
right? So you're not really sure if that's like giving him like a happy mission to like have a point of view about drunk drivers, like
Right.
I'm going to help people, or I'm going to kill people.
It's
who
turning
are
him
drunk
into
drivers,
yeah.
right?
It's sort of like turning him into like a wild vigilante.
Yeah, I would say the story gets deeper.
Yeah.
Right? So when you're doing a self-tape, just like in the headshots, when you're doing an audition,
Yeah.
the wardrobe choices, but particularly for self-tapes, because you don't have a casting director vying for you in the same way, right? They just, if it's an independent film self-tape, they're getting 4,000 and they need to immediately see the character that they envision in their head.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's not fair, because if you're not really great at wardrobe for storytelling, you might have a little bit of a disadvantage over somebody who does have a really great eye for that. And you need to get better at it. And the way you get better at it is every time you have an audition, you then follow that project, even if it takes a year, however long it takes, and you see what they wardrobe that person in.
Yeah.
And then you just know, okay, if I'm playing off-duty cop, it's, for me, I would have put you in like a very neutral colored flannel shirt with your sleeves rolled up and maybe a t-shirt underneath. You know, so you just look like a guy.
Oh.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Totally.
And maybe even a guy that maybe she has a kind of crush on.
Yeah.
You know, like he should be sweet. He should be unassuming. He should be somebody to the rescue. And, you know, your character, you sort of poke fun at her a little bit. The character has her, instead of doing the normal sobriety tests, has her like do tree pose. And it sort of has like an irreverence to it. And that to me is all, for me in the first scene, would be about a kindness and understanding, because this lead character of the woman should think, uh-oh, cop.
Right.
And then, oh, pulled over, off-duty cop, seems friendly, you know, and now is going to escort me back. Because this cop could just call and throw her in jail.
Yeah.
But instead, he's going to police escort her home.
Right.
Are you getting story here?
I am. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so how are you going to do scene 1 differently than how you're going to do scene 2? What's important about scene 1 versus what's important about scene 2?
Scene 1 is about winning her over, I think.
Great.
About
And so what do you
charming.
have? Great. And trustworthy.
Yeah.
Not seeing it coming.
Right.
So you, Ethan, what qualities do you have, both facially, vocally, personality-wise, that make you trustworthy? And what qualities do you have that make you dangerous? So let's talk about that.
I have a pretty kick-ass smile, I think.
You do have a kick-ass smile. Now, I have an important question. Did you read the script?
I was only given the sides.
Did you ask for the script?
I did not.
So you guys, you always ask for the script.
I was going to say I did, but I was like,
No,
I'm not
you
gonna
didn't.
lie.
Don't lie to me, because it's important for people. I can't tell you. Like, you have to always ask for the script.
Yeah.
Liz Ho, who's on here a couple times, who works all the time, I asked her about it, and she says, my people know. I always ask for the script. I just did my agent meetings, and they asked me if I have any questions for them, and all I said was, I just really like to have as much information as possible. I like to get the script, always, absolutely the script. And in addition to, I want to make sure that if you don't have the script available to me, I ask for every other character's sides, because they may not give you the script because it's like on lockdown, but every other character that's auditioning. And then I legit print the whole fucking thing up and I put everything in order and I read as much as I can as though it's the script.
So I was thinking about what Anastasia said.
Hey, girl, hey.
Shout out to another BHP student.
Yes.
She said, happy to be here and easy to work with. And I
Right.
think sometimes
That
at my level,
overrides.
it's easy to feel like I don't want to make this difficult for anybody. Casting director, my agent.
Great. So I love this. So here's what I want to say about the very wonderful exposure, okay, that you are bringing to light, is that if your job is to serve the story, then is it imperative to know the story?
Yeah, it's
actually your job.
Yeah.
It's actually your job. Now, in my experience, no agent or casting director ever, and I want to make this very clear, is ever put off by wanting the story. Often they cannot give it to you because it's on lockdown.
Totally.
But they want more than anything for you to do your best work so that you book this job. And when an actor asks for the script, it is only a sign that the actor is hardworking, is determined, knows their craft, and takes it very seriously.
Okay.
It is never taken as
Needy.
And if any agent ever acts like you wanting the script is needy, that's an agent who doesn't understand at all what we're doing here. And is somebody that you're going to pass on the freeway eventually anyway.
Right.
And if you are getting, as actors out there, if you're ever getting like pushback about it, if anyone's ever like, just like it's 5 lines, like work it out. That may be about a way that you're communicating, I would say, and a neediness in your communication.
Yeah.
And just know part of the happy to be here, easy to work with is in how you communicate what you need. It's like, hey, I know it's 5 lines, but if there's a script, it just helps me.
Yeah.
If nothing else, I get to know a little bit more about what's going on here.
That's definitely something I think I'm just projecting because I've never gotten that feedback.
I know that that's true.
Yeah.
But I love that you said that because that means a lot of people are feeling that.
Yeah.
And I just want to call it out for actually being not true.
I will
Because
say,
go ahead.
From this point forward, I'm going to ask
Absolutely.
every time
Great.
in a
That's what you wanna
kind,
do.
friendly,
That's
and
exactly right.
conducive way.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So the reason I ask about the full script is because I would be interested in whether or not there is room for your character to be not so strictly and directly straight.
Yes.
I think it would be an interesting choice and an interesting turn. I think that you skew gayer in your execution, but because you are hitting on this actress or hitting on this character, your character is hitting on this other character for the entire second scene. That to me is interesting, and I would be interested in a horror movie where you're like, is this person straight? I guess they are. Oh, I guess maybe they're a sociopath. Oh, I guess it's not about that, right?
Yeah,
I would just be interested story-wise in how much you have room to have maybe a less a more
play with that fluidity a little bit.
have a more nondescript sexuality.
Totally.
To me is essential to understanding what you bring. And I say it's like a light board, right?
Yeah.
So one of the dials on your light board is your sexuality. Then you have this booming voice. Okay. Now, to me, having a low voice and being 6'5" can in some ways is both opposing or protecting, dependent upon what side it's on.
Yeah.
So as a cop that in the beginning I think, oh shit, I just got caught by a cop and I'm driving home drunk. If 6'5" guy with a booming voice comes out, in the beginning I might be intimidated. But then they show me that they're warm and they're kind, and then I might feel protected and taken care of, which is where that scene went. And then as you start to hit on her and become more and more creepy, then it becomes dangerous again. And I don't think you have an awareness yet of that as a weapon, of both strength or danger.
Yeah.
Great. So what do you think about that?
I think that's very eye-opening. It's easy to, I don't want to say take for granted, but it's easy to not pay attention to because it is just sort of like I don't notice it.
It's who you are.
Exactly.
Right.
And I'm unable to have an objective awareness of how it's perceived by other people.
Yet.
Yeah.
But wait, Ethan. Wait. You tall, handsome, strange giant. I have to interrupt you.
Help me. I need some help.
And now it's time for listener questions.
I'm so scared.
Listen, you guys, I love you, but you can't send me all of these emails for listener questions. It's still episodic season, and we're getting pilot season, and I just hate ignoring you. It breaks my little heart. So the best way to get a hold of me is to actually send me a listener question, 667-ACTOR-70. That's 667 Actor 70. This listener question is brought to you by Greg Saffel at singinglessonslosangeles.com. All right, you guys, Greg is the best. You want to get your voice to match your casting. You want to open your voice and its possibilities up to be in alignment with your casting and or help push your casting maybe into greater dimension. Improve your strength and your diction and your articulation. If you guys are doing doctors, if you're doing lawyers, if you're doing scientists, that's very important. Eliminating nasality is a huge thing. Releasing tension from your voice, accent reduction, singing abilities. So Greg loves to work with total beginners. He's so caring, you guys. And I know you're scared. I know you are scared to go to voice lesson. But remember the first time you were scared to go to yoga? Just remember how scared you were for your first yoga class. And then you guys became total yoga cult followers. Okay. So your voice has the same potential to unlock so much healing and to unlock so much power in yourself and in your work. He also does them on an app. So if you don't live in LA, you can reach out to him and he can do them with you over this app that is really great. So just so you know, and listen, you guys, he's affordable, which is what I love. Because listen, those singing lessons in New York are like $1 trillion. And I want you to know Greg is not only affordable, but he is excellent and really will change your voice. SingingLessonsLosAngeles.com. Greg is great. Greg is great.
Hi, Audrey. I'm Sophia from New York City. I'm an actor here. I graduated college almost 3 years ago. I am very excited to book my first professional credit this year, 2020. Here we are. I wanted to know about managers and agents. I have a manager and I'm freelancing with a small commercial agent. Nothing's huge. They're boutique. And I've applied to get a theatrical or legit agent. And every time I do that, they email me back and they're like, yeah, we can't do that because you're signed with your manager and we don't work with your manager. So I'm unclear as, can I have a manager and an agent? I know talent out there does have a manager and an agent, but I'm unclear as to why I specifically can't. So what do you think I should do in order to get a legit agent while I have a manager? Should I drop my manager entirely and just go out and get a real agent? Or should I continue to search for an agent who's willing to work with my manager? So, yeah, I look forward to hearing from you. I love the show. You're very motivating and positive and uplifting, but also realistic. And I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Talk soon.
OMG, Sophia, I have some not great news for you. That sounds like a really bad sign. It sounds to me like your manager has a reputation for being completely terrible. If all of these agents, first of all, the fact that they're even writing you back and telling you, I don't work with your manager, to me is like huge red flag. Because if they just didn't like your manager, if they just didn't sort of gel with them, they just wouldn't respond. They don't have to respond. They don't have time. So if they're going to take time out of their day to actually email you back and say I don't work with your manager, that to me is hello, warning, 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 things are bad. You might want to really take a look into that. Danger. It is absolutely, completely normal for managers and agents to work together. That's just what they do. And so the fact that these agents are telling you no, I think is just a really bad sign. So how do you know if that's what's going on? You're probably not going to get somebody in an email to actually write down, hey, your manager is known for blah, blah, blah. Your manager has a reputation for this. So one thing I recommend doing is going to a one-on-one workshop. Go to an agent workshop, go to a casting director workshop, but make sure they're one-on-one. So you're in the room with the casting director, just you and the casting director. And then tell them what happened. And then ask them, do people think your manager is crazy? Or does your manager have some reputation that you don't know about? And, get maybe more than one person's point of view. But if you get one person's point of view who's oh, you're with that person? Oh, let me tell you all about the terrible things they've done. Then that should be enough information for you. For me, I would love for you to just know exactly what it is, but that's probably going to take a little investigation. But I'd say bad sign, not great. Go figure out what's happening.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
So that's most of the information I feel like when I think about you and where I think your execution needs to just evolve a little bit, both in your materials and in your audition and storytelling execution, is understanding and really fucking with, in a purposeful way, how what you do reads. So I find that one of the best ways to do this, so you have to start doing self-tapes. You just have to.
Yeah.
You have to implement it as a practice. Now, I don't ask anyone to be crazy like I was and do them all the time, but for every week that goes by that you're not doing a self-tape and learning from it, in my opinion, you are losing time. The good news is I think you've got all the time in the world. I think your casting is only going to go more magical, but this journey for you can go as fast as you want, or it can go as slow as you want. And as fast as it goes is going to be as fast as you want to go in your awareness of both story and how you read in story.
Okay, yeah.
So when we talk about story, what I need you doing is I need you watching shows. I need you watching them. I need you watching them. I need you watching them. I need you binging, and I need you like noticing tone. Okay. And I like to go on show facts, pull some sides up from maybe a show that I don't have a lot of awareness of, and then I'll work on it as I know how to. And then I watch it.
Okay.
And then that's something you do without even an audition. And then you compare what you did to what made it on. Right. And you want to be looking for information. How did they dress versus how did you dress?
Right.
How does that help or not help the story? Because they're artists too. Wardrobe is fucking art.
Yeah.
Art direction, they're artists who really aren't employed just because fuck it, why not? They're employed because that all helps tell the story. Part of why I would wardrobe you in like a soft, neutral tone flannel is because a flannel is soft. A flannel is texturally a little bit more inviting. It probably says a little bit more about where this person is and that they are off duty, right?
It's got a warm quality.
It has a warm quality. I would choose warm tones, but maybe a little more neutral, like browns and burgundy, stuff like that, because you do turn evil.
Yeah.
So I don't want it to be so warm that it's too jarring that you turn evil, but neutral enough.
Yeah.
But on this side of warmth in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So you just look for this information. You're looking for data. Now, where I actually started to get a lot of information about how my casting turns is actually in doing roles that are not at all my roles. I started putting on everything on tape from Scandal, because Scandal to me was really hard sides. And I wanted to, in the sense that athletes train in high elevation, so that way when they get to normal ground, they like soar. That sort of was my thought, is like, I'm going to train on like the hardest, so that way when I have an audition that's not going super, super fast with a lot of technical jargon, I feel like, oh, this is so easy, right? I did roles that no one was going to cast me on Scandal. I did the judge.
Yeah.
I did like a 6'4" African-American male lawyer, I did moms. I did stereotypical millennial. I did all of those so that I could sort of play with what is revealed about what works for me in the role versus what doesn't work for me in the role. And I learned actually about my face and my voice and my quality that I bring through working on some of the harsher roles, and realized that even as harsh as I pushed it, like when I had just a harsh, dead set, strong point of view, my face and body just didn't communicate that at what I would call a quick read, the same way it would for somebody else that maybe had an intimidating face, had an intimidating body. And then other things like I am tall like you, I'm tall for women. And I had auditioned for a role opposite a lead actress on the show. And the lead actress is one of my heroes, and she's like 5'4". And what was important for the story is that she like takes me down. She like hits me and throws me to the ground, and she's like got me in like 3 seconds. I'm down on the ground.
Yeah.
Now I just knew that I would never cast me in that role.
Right.
Because it would just be more work than probably was worth. Now, if I had a real arc where it's like the point is that like David takes down Goliath for whatever reason, that's part of the story, is like what seems like my size versus her size. So for that reason, I don't often get cast in victim roles because my physical stature just doesn't communicate.
Victim.
Yeah. Only because like, I'm larger. Yeah. And so if I was 5 feet tall, that to me is maybe a little bit of an easier communicated story that like, this person's just physically overpowered really quick, right?
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I do.
So what I need you to do is to put yourself on this is going to be a year, okay? I need a 1-year commitment to a weekly self-tape practice.
Totally.
And in so doing, what you're looking for is understanding story. It's a really hard thing to understand, but you're going to get it the more you watch, and because the choices that seem to you to be like truthful, honest, no-brainer choices, then you'll watch that Disney audition, right? And you'll see like, oh, they didn't do it nearly as dramatic as that. It's actually a little sentimental. It's a little soft.
Yeah.
And so then you realize certain habits that you have. Like I, Audrey, am not a sentimental person. So on my checklist, I have sentimental as a color to look for.
Yeah.
Because a lot of television is really sentimental. And so I don't bring that color naturally as a choice, but others do.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah. I accept the challenge. I have wanted to be doing that. I mean, I already watch a lot of TV. I think I just can turn up the critical lens that I look it through.
That's right. The unfortunate part I have to say is once you start understanding stories is
it ruins it. Yeah.
Like I can't. And Jesse is the worst. Like I'll watch anything with him and he'll literally say the line that is then the next line because he knows exactly what the writer's going to write because he understands story.
Yeah.
So, there's that. Don't be a writer. So you have Shrill, 68 Whiskey, Chasers, The Good Place, Silicon Valley, Kaminsky Method, 20s, Fuller House, It's Always Sunny, and Superstore. So I guess I think you're a lot darker and creepier than all of these.
Okay.
Or not all of them, but the most of them. Like,
okay.
I think you can do these. Uh-huh. But as we've noticed with your statistics, when you're right for it, you book it. And so the key is understanding what that when you're right for it really is. Like, what is that really? And then as masterfully as you can, continue to hone your materials to reflect that. Because you're real, you have like, this guy hitting on this girl in like this flippant comedy way. And I don't quite buy you in that role. Yeah. And then you have you as like a Grey's Anatomy sort of hospital scene. And I can't really tell if you're friends or if you're supposed to be romantically interested in each other. But so that's a little confusing to me. And then you have a quick beat of a serial killer, which I think is good. And then you have a self-tape on there, which I can't have.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, every casting director that I talk to says, like, unless you are like fresh out of college, like brand new, the feedback is not that it's helpful or positive. Okay. But I don't want you going actually and shooting footage until I want you to master this thing. Yeah. Because I think you're interesting enough that if you could really master how this works, even if it's in a more serious, regular, recurring way and more like streaming video on demand, more niche, more cool place for you, my experience is that once you are handing people clarity, they grab you. Right. When you're like, it's this. And it may be different versions of this, but this is sort of the dials. These are the dials I bring to the table. Then they're like, oh, I know what to do with that. And there's so much content out there right now that I think you're specific enough in your height, in your vocal quality, and in your sexuality, and in your physical expression. I don't really know anyone like you. And I think if you could find a way how to harness that and then show it to people and then be like, it's this, I think it's really cool. Yeah. And I think it's like big opportunity worthy regardless of resume. Okay. I think.
I agree with that.
You don't quite know what to do with it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think you know what to do with it yet. Yeah. And this is part of...
It's a lot.
It is a lot. It's a lot hard.
Fun. I mean, I look at this as being exciting.
It's a process. Yeah. But the thing that is hard about it is I'm very hesitant to be like, it's this, Ethan. Right. Because I want you, and this is what I want for all actors, I want you to start taking control of your own artistry. I want you to start not just trying to be a good actor, which is a valiant thing to do, but I want you to evolve beyond just being a good actor to being a skillful actor with their instrument. And that's not just like, I can talk loud and I can talk soft, but their instrument being what you bring in body and voice. One of my favorite acting teachers said, like, what's the difference between our art form and other art forms? And I give all these answers. And she said, no, it's your expression through your body and your voice. Right. And that's what makes you very unique. Yeah. Do you know another actor like you right now?
No.
Do you know another actor like you on TV?
Well, fuck.
But I think that's a huge advantage.
I do too.
I just think you have to know how to then bring what you bring as its own unique thing and show it. And it's like, I do this.
Because if I don't have like a full understanding.
Right.
How can I expect someone else to?
If you did this work and did it diligently, like imagine what you would learn in a year. Imagine what you'd learn in 3 months. I think you'd learn a lot. And it should be hard because like when I was doing a judge, it felt like putting on a suit that didn't fit. But I learned why it felt like a suit that didn't fit. And I learned what my way in as a judge would be. Like if I was going to be a judge, I would have to, if somebody brought me in as a judge, I would be a very young judge. And then I would have to acknowledge that. And
Did you ever watch The Good Fight?
Totally.
You would be a great judge on
I love The Good Fight. Right,
Like,
exactly.
They always had like the best judges. They were like all
random
over the
choices,
place. Yeah.
Right. And so I'd have to know that's why they were bringing me in, and I would have to own that. And what I would have tried to do in the past is I would have tried to bring what I think a judge needs to be, which is more mature,
Like
more
Law and Order
officious,
Regal.
threatening, like where you would be intimidating,
Totally.
right? Like that's the judge I would have tried to be instead of the judge that I would actually bring.
So let me ask you another question really quick. When you were further back, like back in time, when you were at the level that I am at, or some other people like on this playing field are at,
Right.
do you feel like you were having the same like struggle with getting cast in things because you weren't yet specific?
Yeah, that's exactly why I was on a mission to find out my specificity.
Okay.
It was actually really directly related to workshops. Was I could see that I was doing work that was consistently really good, and they would be like, "Wow, Audrey," and everybody would be like, "Audrey," and then it would be like a 3-week workshop where you did the same person over and over again, and then I wouldn't get called in. And I would see other people that was like, "Oh God, you finally got through that scene," and they would get called in, and then they would book that show, like Casting Director did. And I was just so angry for a long time about the unfairness of it all. And I just started to piece together that I was missing something. And I couldn't quite figure out what it was, but I knew there was something missing. And then I was on a fucking mission to figure out what it was I was missing. And what I discovered I was missing was the clarity and specificity of what I bring to the table.
Yeah.
And it can be hard. I mean, honestly, like I didn't realize I was tall. I never knew I was tall. My dad was 6'6". My mom was 6'1". My brother 6'4". So I felt quite normal size to short.
Yeah.
And it's only in like the last couple of years that I've been like, oh, I'm tall.
I guess that's like
Same thing.
voice.
Yes, it's right. It's just your voice.
Yeah.
I just learned that affected things. And if I was a judge and I talk like this and had my face, that would be one thing. But if I was a judge and I talk like this, which is how I talk, then that's another thing.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's
See what I'm saying?
honestly the difference between two different shows.
You say shows. I say two different versions of what I'm bringing to the table.
Yeah.
Because if my voice was naturally like this, then I would have to know, like, well, I have a chipmunk face, but then I have
Like
this
a Holly
voice.
Hunter
Yeah.
voice.
Then, like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Do you see?
Yeah.
It just informs how
Totally.
people receive you a little bit. It's all these archetypes. Like, it's not, they go through hell to find the perfect voice for Pixar movie, right? And they find it. And then that's part of the archetype. So yes, I did very much feel that way. And it is part of the very painful and frustrating journey to my unique individual understanding of what I bring to the table.
Yeah.
But I found incredibly vital. Incredibly vital.
Yeah.
By the sense of your size, all in of itself, you are a formidable force. 6'5" does that. If you were exactly how you are, but 5'2", can you see how that would be completely different?
Yeah. Because I mean, it's just a totally different way that you're perceived by others.
That's exactly right. Right?
Totally.
If you're wearing a leather jacket, that's John Barbados, and then you're a cop, that's like a very specific story. Right?
I was like, oh my God, I'm so nailing this outfit right now. It's just so
It's
on
really
point for this character.
funny that you did that. But again, don't take my word for it. I want you doing your own research.
No, I appreciate that. And I will. I think it's maybe sometimes like easy to think, oh, I see the importance of that, but I'm not upholding the importance of that because maybe like what's more important is that I'm just like so good.
Well, I think that's what it is. I think we all just want to not be terrible for a long time. We're just like striving to stay alive in artistically.
Yeah.
Like, I think is what it is like, you just want to be good.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to fucking be good. And so, yes, I'm like, yes, I want you to be good. That is very important. Execution on the rung of like what we're doing here is very important. But there's a difference between what I think we're taught to do, which is mostly in America, to be present, to be facile, to be malleable, take direction. But that's because it's all born out of like an old school thing where like you were directed by somebody. And
No director on a self-tape.
Yeah, there's no director on a self-tape. And even if there is, you know, a good director is going to take what you bring to the table and see how that tells the story.
Right.
Right? Questions, problems, issues, realizations.
Realizations, just that there is still a lot within my power that I can be doing and working on to move things forward. I guess I find myself thinking about the upcoming season and
It's still a little cart before the horse for me.
yeah.
You know, I want you to really have faith in your eventuality because I have a lot of faith in your eventuality. You are working so properly.
Yeah.
And every time that we talk, I'm just encouraging you to work with a little bit more focus, you know? And so I don't have an interest in you taking more headshots, going and shooting more footage because I don't think you know what it is that you really bring.
Yeah.
So how can I tell you like, oh yeah, go and focus on getting headshots like that. Go and focus on getting scenes and shooting reels like that. When I feel like the way you've been working, which is how most actors work, is sort of randomly, sort of through luck, mishmashing like what you bring happening to go with what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I think that's how most actors work. And that's kind of like the blind, like blah, 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 about it all versus actors, I think, who work a lot have a very specific understanding of what they bring and know how to weaponize that to their advantage for the role.
Yeah.
That's all. Ethan.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming over.
My fucking
Was
pleasure.
that helpful?
It was, yeah.
Good. I have one final question for you. Ethan, where's my sparkle cape?
Oh, girl, I knew you were going to ask me about that.
That's fine. You guys, Ethan helped me with my wedding, and I was like, Ethan, the only thing I really want to make sure that you make sure comes back is my sparkle light up cape. And he was like, done. And do you know what did not make it back? My dignity along with the sparkle light up. I'm just giving you shit about it. It's fine.
It's in Taylor's trunk.
Yeah, it's
in
true.
his trunk.
It's
That
somewhere.
trunk was a
Taylor has
disaster.
it. You're
Taylor,
right.
if you're
Taylor,
listening to this, it's in your
bring me back my sparkle cape. Okay. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
for
you for
your
having me.
Transparency, for your passion,
Yeah.
and for your continual hard work.
Yay.
Okay, I adore you. Okay, bye.
Yay, bye.
Hey. Next week on Audrey Helps Actors, we have Ace Studios, the workshop place here in Los Angeles. It's one of the, but I think, arguably the best one. So listen, there's so much like mixed information about workshops. LA has like so much drama around it. I know you guys are always like, what's the story? Do they work? What's the strategy? I want you to know when I started doing workshops many moons ago you guys, I did workshops for like 8 years and I didn't get called in. For like 8 years. I think I got called in one time. And then I started working my shit out. And by the time I finished, legit, I was getting called in 9 out of every 10 workshops. That's completely real numbers. Those are real numbers. 9 out of every 10. To me, they are effective. You do still get called in from them. And we talk all about it. And this guy was really involved in the legal battle that happened in Los Angeles. He works very closely with the Los Angeles government to create and define guidelines and rules and make sure that this is a honest and helpful practice that we are keeping going and alive and useful to actors. So I personally am very pro workshop. We talk a lot about that. And I think you're going to love the episode. Special thanks to Ethan Crenshaw for this wonderful episode. Ethan, I just love you, boo. I just think you're the best. I'm so glad that you came on, and, we'll have you on again at another time. And if you see Ethan out there, just tell him, hey, what's up? Ethan, I hope you go on many more dates. I hope you have whatever kind of love life you want. If you want to fall in love, I would just love if this podcast brought you to your soulmate, and then I officiated your wedding. It would be so magical. Big thanks to our first draft editor, Patricia Cuffie-Jones. Also, Thomas Snodgrass. He doesn't live across the street anymore, but luckily the internet exists. And also to my executive producer and husband, still so handsome, you guys, Jesse Lumen, the one, the only, the rock star. Show music is brought to you by Ari De Niro. And our theme song assistance is still brought to you by Aalok Mehta and 108 Hill. All right, guys, don't forget your towel.